everybody. Thanks very much for coming. Hello, Mick. I see you there. Thank you for having your camera on. As always, much appreciated. Hello to Dan and Amira on Zoom. And we've got other people on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, but I can't see them. I can only see the people who are with me on Zoom. So thank you all so much for giving me your time tonight. My name is Vincent. I am originally from Kildare in the southeast. I've been living in Dublin for many, many, many years. And where are you from? Pop it in the chat. Where are you logging in from? I'd like to know. Where are you? I have a suspicion that I know where one person is, but in any event, pop it into the chat. Would love to find out where you are logging in from. And as this is a practical webinar, and I might ask you for a couple of examples as we're going through this webinar tonight, it'd be nice to kind of get that, that kind of routine going. So if you don't mind, take this opportunity, this moment, this chance, this this time to exercise and practice your typing by putting in where you're logging in from in the chat. And then I can see where you are, and I can determine from that then what kind of sense of humor I'm going to use or not. Because if you're from Dublin or Kildare, I might have a certain sense of humor. If you're from outside of there, I won't know what to say. Okay, Amira from UK Surrey. Lovely, thank you so much for being here, Amira. Thank you for sharing your location as well. Much appreciated. Mick Ray. Great. Thank you, Mick, for being here. Anybody who hasn't been to Wicklow, go to Wicklow. I got married down in Wicklow, County Wicklow. It is the Garden of Ireland, the most beautiful county in Ireland. Now, if you're from Donegal or Kerry, you're going to dispute that, but it is beautiful. And of course, Kildare is beautiful as well. And Dublin, of course. Dublin is beautiful. Dan, Dublin is beautiful. There we go. I've covered all bases. And hello there to Paula, Alexandra, and Samantha. And as I asked everybody at the beginning, if you don't mind popping into the chat and just type in where you're logging in from, that would be fantastic. It just gives me an idea about where everybody actually is. Right? I'm in Dublin right now. I'm in Dublin. I'm between Tala and Fairhouse. So that's where I am. Megan, hello. Thank you very much for joining the webinar. Much appreciated. Okay, folks. In this webinar, I will ask you for a couple of examples. You don't have to put in examples. You don't have to participate in the webinar, but if you can, it'd be great. It's no problem if you don't want to. I won't be offended. Completely fine. Okay? So thank you. Let's see. Samantha from... How am I going to pronounce it? I'm going to make a mess of this, Samantha, just so you know. Hounslow? Is it... Am I right? Or is it Hounslow? Hounslow or Hounslow? It's either one or the other. I think it's Hounslow. Am I right? Okay. Paula from Monaghan, originally from Monaghan, originally from the north, but family lives in Donegal. Okay, now I don't get that. Okay, from Monaghan originally, from the north, but family live in Donegal. Okay, I get that. So you're from Monaghan originally. I have actually got relatives that up in Carrickmacross. That's where I spent a bit of my youth. My youth was up in the hills of Monaghan, in Carrickmacross. Yeah, I had great fun as a child going around Carrickmacross. Okay, folks, enough about me. Carrick, hey. I love Carrick, love it. Loved it. Now, at the time when I was in Carrick, I think we spent a lot of time in the pub. Even though I was about 10 years of age, we were in pubs a lot in Carrick. And it was great fun. We went to see football matches and all that kind of stuff. It was great. Anyway, good. Folks, enough about me. And thank you so much for sharing your locations and where you are and so forth. Really grateful. So I am going to make this webinar worth your while tonight. You have been so kind to give me your time tonight. You could be doing anything else. You could be walking the dog. You could be watching a movie. You could be going out and taking a jog or whatever you want, going for a meal, but you chose to spend it here with me, to give me the chance to give you some data that I believe is going to help you in your life. Okay, so stick around with me. It's going to be about 40 minutes, I would say. I'm going to have a fairly A to B webinar. I just want to give you some punchy stuff, make a recommendation for you at the end if you're interested in following it up, and then we'll take it from there. And hello to, who else has joined? Sorna, thank you so much for joining, and Maddie, great to have you there, Maddie. And again, if you want to pop into the chat and put in where you're logging in from, that would be fantastic. Okay, so we're going to go over the basics of what keeps a relationship together and how to build a relationship. Now, anybody who's been at my webinars before, you will have heard some of this, okay? But I'm going to be expanding on it. Now, I'm not going to be telling you techniques on how to win friends and influence people, you know, how to make people interested in you, how to manipulate people, and how to make people love you in a very indirect way without actually meaning it. Okay? So it's not about control and manipulation and trying to use people for your own ends. It's about building friendships, genuine friendships with people that you want to build a relationship with. You have a choice with people. You can communicate to them, or you have a choice not to communicate to them. You don't have to be in love with everybody. I mean, maybe you do on a higher level, but like, you know, if there's somebody that you don't want to get to know, well, then you don't have to. But what I'm going to teach you tonight are the basic barriers that you run across when you want to build a relationship with somebody, or you wouldn't mind, or you'd like to repair a relationship. You know, you think it's not going well. Let's take a family, for example. You don't get on with your brother or your sister. And so you feel, you know what, for the sake of harmony in the family, I would like to build a relationship. So what I'm going to go over with you tonight is going to give you the bedrock that you can build on. These are the fundamentals. The fundamentals that anybody can use. Okay. Yes. Okay, Nick, thank you very much. Okay, and then who else? We have a couple of phone numbers logged in there. Thank you so much. Right, folks, let's launch into this. What I'm going to go over with you tonight is from this book called A New Slant on Life. Slant means a way of looking at. A New Slant on Life. It was written by this gentleman by the name of Alban Hubbard. And I'm going to be promoting this little book at the end as well, called The Emotional Tone Scale. And you'll find out a little bit about this during the webinar, okay? What I want to go over with you is from a chapter in this book, okay? Now, you'll see me or hear me reading a couple of lines. And the reason I like to read the lines is I want to give it to you directly from the horse's mouth, not to give you my interpretation of it. I'm going to give you examples and how it applies, but I want to give you the exact data from the author. So here is what we were going to look at tonight. The basic bedrock of a relationship. And the second part is I'm going to show you what you need to do to build that relationship. They're not going to be all sorts of communication techniques and so forth. We do a communication course as well for anybody who's interested in, which can help you start a conversation, keep a conversation going, change the subject, get out of a conversation. There are different techniques that you can use to improve your communication skill. That's not what this is about tonight. This is bedrock stuff. All right? And by the way, if you have any questions as we're going through this webinar tonight, please feel free to pop them into the chat. And at the end of the webinar, I'm going to be leaving it open for any questions and answers as well. All right. So, we have this thing called the triangle. Okay. Here I'm going to explain all these terms. C, and this is A, and this is R. And we call it the ARC, even though it's backwards. Disappear them back again. The ARC triangle. And I'm going to explain to you what each part of this is. And before I do, I want to draw something for you. And if you are building an arch, okay, if you are building an arch with stones, okay, and by the way, I didn't go to art class, so this is going to be a disaster. Okay? It's already a disaster. Right. When you're building an arch, the final stone that you put in is called the keystone, because that kind of locks the whole arch together and keeps it there. This is the most important stone in an arch. It's called the keystone. And I want to mention that because it comes up in the very first sentence here tonight. But before we do, I want to ask you, as an audience, before I go into my whole spiel about what I think you should know, I would like to find out from you, if you don't mind, what is the biggest problem that you have with relationships? In other words, why did you come to this webinar? What are you interested in finding out about? Because I want that at the end of this webinar, you personally have gotten something out of it. Every single person on this webinar. If I have to address your questions individually at the end, I will. But what I want to do is, if you don't mind, type into the chat, what is the biggest problem that you're running into in relationships? I'd like to make a note of that so that I can gear what I'm saying around your particular circumstances as best I can. So just have a think about that for a second. What's your biggest problem in terms of relationships and improving relationships? Pop it into the chat if you don't mind. While you're doing that, we've all had issues with relationships, okay? From friendships to colleagues at work to marriage. Myself and my wife have had buckets of upsets throughout the years, tons. Children, neighbors. Life is full of relationships, and if you know the basics, things are going to go better for you. So pop into the chat, what's the biggest problem that you are having or that you find in the relationships area? And I'm going to make a quick note of it. Thank you, Mick, for the lovely art question. Amira, cannot maintain relationships. Okay. Thank you, Amira. Can't maintain. Set them. Okay, thank you. I'm going to give you some interesting basics on that tonight, Amira. There is something I want to mention before I do move on. I upset people so they leave me. It's not always your fault. I'm just going to put that there. But that's a kind of a subject for another webinar, where I explain why it is that people leave relationships and tell you you're the fault. So just to keep that in mind, it's not always a case of you knocking yourself on the head all the time. But thank you. Megan, how to handle disagreements. Okay? Yep. My dear Megan, I've got a classic example of that. The other night I had a big disagreement with my wife. She was like, well, you shouldn't have done this. And I'm like, well, hang on, then there's this. And then we stopped talking for 5 seconds. And then I did my usual and I just repaired it. Grand. Easy, easy, easy. Sorna, misunderstandings and not always being an active listener. Oh, okay, that's a good one. Not active listener. Thank you very much. Sorna, so I can't maintain long-term relationship with people. Good. So what I'm going to go over with you tonight, Sorna, is obviously this is what I'm going to go over is going to apply, but there is an aspect of communication skill. A lot of people, when they're learning how to communicate, they leave out this aspect of listening. So when you're talking to somebody and you're quote unquote listening, but you're really thinking about something else, or you're drifting off and they don't even know if you're listening to them and you interrupt them, it's a communication issue. Now there's a separate course that we do on communication skills. So this webinar might not cover everything, but it'll cover a couple of basics. Okay, but thank you very much, Sorna. Samantha, how to manage conflict while getting my needs met. Okay, manage conflict. Oh, I have a lovely line. I have a lovely line to go over with you, Samantha. Damn, I have to make a note of who said what, so I can refer to you later on. You got Sorna, disagreement, Megan. Okay, and Amira. Okay, next, Paula. We see things differently, and I get the blame. Sorry, my spacer is stuck. Okay, Paula, I was wondering what was happening there. That's okay, no problem. The spacer is taking over. We see things differently. So basically, disagreements. Okay, folks. Thank you so much for that. Much appreciated. Now, let's launch into this. The basic thing that is going to keep a relationship together is the A or C triangle. Let me read to you a couple of lines. Don't worry, this is not going to be me just reading from a book. Blah, 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 and then you just turn off the actual webinar. I'll read a couple of lines, make an example. The ARC triangle is the keystone, is the thing that holds it together. It's the keystone of living associations. So for associations mean basically relationships between people. It's the basic building block of a relationship. This triangle is the common denominator to all of life's activities. Why? Because we're all living together. The first corner of the triangle is called affinity. Now I'm going to wipe out this board. I'm going to make a smaller triangle in the corner. I'm going to spend a bit of time on this one, affinity. And this is, I just want to explain this to you because it's important. Okay, so I'll put this over here, C, A, and R. Okay, so the first thing we're going to have a look at is affinity. Okay. Now, what is affinity? The basic definition of affinity is the consideration or the thought of distance, whether good or bad. The most basic function of complete affinity would be the ability to occupy the same space as something else. Okay, so there's, let me just show you what this means. There's Joe, okay, and he is best buddies with Fred, and they love to hang around each other. So they like being in each other's space. They like being close. This could be a wife. This could be your children. So, for example, you have a high affinity for your children. You love your children. You want them close. Now, if your affinity is low for somebody, what happens is let's say Joe's affinity for Fred is low. He wants Joe very far away. Okay? He doesn't want Joe near him. So the basic definition of affinity is how you feel about the distance factor. Do you want somebody close to you, or do you want them far away? Okay, do you want them like 1,000,000 miles away? So if you want them close to you, it means your affinity is high for that person. If you want them very far from you, it means your affinity is very low. Now, I have a son. He's over in the States at the moment. Actually, no, he's in Africa right now. But just because we have a high distance factor, it doesn't mean my affinity is lower. It's just I want him close, and I can, I would communicate every day. So it's not just physical distance. It's how far you want that person away from you is the affinity. And how close you want them is going to be high affinity. So here's the next line. The word affinity here is used to mean love, okay? Love, liking, or any emotional attitude. Okay? I'm going to go over this with you now. So it's basically the degree to which you like somebody. Now, I know that might seem like common sense. Of course, you like somebody, you don't like somebody. But this is something that I'm going to show you how to build on by using this triangle in a few minutes. Now, when we talk about emotional attitude, okay, actually, let's pause for a second. Pause. Right. I want you to think about somebody in your life that you like to have close to you. Pop it into the chat. Have a think about somebody in your life that you like to have close to you in terms of distance. Even if they're far away, you want to have them close to you. Pop it in the chat. Is it friend, family member, child, parent, partner, boss, friend, colleague, neighbor? Pop into the chat an example of one person that you like to have close to you. Call a boyfriend? Great. So what that means is that your affinity is high for that person. Anybody else? Amira, partner, again, the affinity, the degree of love and liking is high because you want that person close. Okay, Sorna, a friend, great. You love hanging around with that person and them being in your space and you being in their space. Excellent. Anybody else? Going once, going twice. Sold. Sorna, sold to you. Okay, so that's affinity, the degree of love or liking. But it also means the emotional attitude, and that's something I'm going to go over with you right now. What's the emotional attitude between you and somebody else? And what is your emotional attitude? Okay, so your affinity level, and you're going to see how this all connects in a few minutes, okay, and how you can use this to build a relationship with somebody, okay. Your emotional level varies throughout the day, maybe throughout the week, throughout the year, okay? So at the top of the scale, we have enthusiasm. As we come down, interest. And you're getting bored. Okay? We're going to go downhill a little bit. We're going to go down to antagonism. Antagonism is basically finding fault. Nya, 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 nya. Okay? Then we're going to go down to anger. That's pretty clear. Covert hostility. Okay? Covert means hidden, and hostility means they hate you. In other words, a person that you're around doesn't like you, but pretends that they do. I'm your best friend in the whole world. And then when your back is turned, they're basically cutting you to ribbons. This booklet is going to explain more about this afterwards, okay? Covert hostility, then we go down here to fear, grief, basically where somebody's really getting upset all the time, sad all the time, and then as we go down the lines, it's apathy, where a person has given up. So, the emotional attitude that you have and that you're in is going to determine how close you want that person and how far you want that person. Okay? So if you're down, let's say, in anger, right? You're going around with the sweeping brush and you're wondering, okay, I need to hit somebody with the sweeping brush, okay? You're going to be driving people away. You want them to go away. In other words, you want the distance factor to be big. Whereas if you're interested, let's say you're hanging around with your friend and you're interested in what they're saying, you're interested in the party that they were at, you're both interested in the game that you're playing, the affinity level is going to be high. Now, if you go down here, if you're afraid of somebody, if you're in fear, you want to keep that person very far away. So the affinity is very low. So your degree of, in other words, how you're going to improve the relationship is going to be dependent on where you are on this chart. And how you communicate to somebody, the exact level that you communicate at is going to be determined by where they are on this chart. So, for example, if you are completely depressed about something, chances are you won't want to talk to anybody or have anybody around you. I don't want to talk, just go away. So your affinity for people is very low. Covert hostility is like, have you ever met somebody who's really nice on the surface, but then when you really find out about them, they're just sly. They're just sly. It's all a pretense. It's all, I love you so much. In the back of their mind, they're thinking, I really don't like this person. And it's all a pretense. So someone who's at covert hostility, they want you away, but they're kind of pretending to want you close, but they really want you far away. Okay? So they'll do things that will upset you and, drive you away in a very nice way, as your friend. Okay. And then so forth in anger. Okay. So now, this is going to come into play in a few minutes, so just keep an eye on that. I just want you to remember that there are different levels here. If you are high on this tone scale, or this emotional scale, you're going to want people close to you. Once you start sinking down this chart, you're going to want people far away from you. All right? The second thing is that how you communicate to others is going to be dependent on this. So, for example, if you are dealing with somebody who's just had a loss and they're down here in grief, okay? So if they're in grief and they're really upset because they've lost a partner or a friend or a pet, and you come in and you're really enthusiastic, you're just going to look like an alien. There's going to be no connection. Whereas let's say if you, for example, I go home one night and we have cats at home. Oh, they're a nuisance sometimes. They're a nightmare. We love them, but they're a nightmare. I might go home and, for example, last night, the new kitten broke another one of our flower pots. Just is obsessed with the plants in the house. So we've been hiding them and so forth. So I went in last night and the cat had literally just broken a flower pot on the ground. Okay. And of course, my wife was like, "Oh, for crying out loud! That was my favorite flower pot. Damn it!" Smashed on the ground. And our cat is named Max. Max, get up the stairs now. So she was in antagonism. Okay. So now, let me ask you a question. Let's see if we're relating here. Where do you think I should go in on this chart to actually build a relationship with my wife? Where should I be? Okay, she's in antagonism because the cat has just broken the vase. So where am I going to go in here? Am I going to go in enthusiasm? Am I going to go in apathy? Where am I going to go in? What is going to be my approach? Am I going to be like, "Oh, honey, it's fine. Max is a beautiful kitten. We love him. You should really take care of a beautiful cat. Oh, we love Max." Should we go in like that? Or should we go in like, "Oh, I had a terrible day at work today. It was just a nightmare. Wish I hadn't gone in at all." Any ideas? Where am I going to hit this communication? Where am I going to develop it? Going once? Anybody? Going twice? Sold to myself. We're going to go in around this area here. Okay? Now, it's not that I'm going to be antagonistic with my wife. I'm not going to go in and say, "Honey, you stop shouting at the cat. It's not the cat's fault." No. I'm not going to target her. What I'm going to go in and say, "Oh, damn it, another plant pot gone. We'll have to go out and buy a bloody another one." Okay? So I'm going to go in and I'm going to be not antagonistic with her, but maybe antagonistic or even bored. I'm going to be like, "Oh, for crying out loud, another plant pot." But I'm certainly not going to go in enthusiasm. I've done that before. "Hey, darling, it's fine. Max is a beautiful kitten. We love her to bits." And she's like, "Okay, I just don't want to talk to you." Okay? So it's really important that when you are developing a relationship with somebody, that you're able to stop where they are at that moment in time on this chart. Now, in order to be able to help you to be able to do that, there's a little booklet I'm going to promote at the end, and that's this emotional tone scale, and it helps you to be able to establish where somebody is at that moment, or even on a long-term basis. For example, there are things that a person does with their eyes. Okay? When they're at boredom, anger, apathy, and so forth. Okay? And let me just show you this. And there's kind of different expressions that they'll make. This is a little example of where somebody will be on that chart, how they look, how they're going to speak. And then finally, there's this chart at the end of the booklet, the chart of human evaluation. It's quite a great experiment to do on, especially on friends and family, because you can find out, okay, where are they on this chart on a long-term basis, and where are they on a short-term basis, okay? So you can find out by studying this chart. There's like 24 different columns on it. You can decide, okay, bang, that's where my friend Joe is. No point in me going in and talking to him in enthusiasm. Let's go in and talk about in this area here, and not at him, but with him. And also, it's very important to be honest about your communication, right? So it has to be, and this is key, okay? I don't like, be honest in your communication as well. If your friend is reading a book and you pretend to be interested in it and you're not really, I mean, you could say, oh, what book are you reading? Oh, I'm reading a book about horror. Oh, wow, that's amazing. Tell me all about it. Let's not be fake about it. Be genuine. If you're not interested, just tell them, listen, horror isn't my thing. I'm into romance. Okay? So this is the first point, the affinity level. You're going to have to bring in where that person is on that. Okay, so now, let's take a little moment to get some practical exercise going. Here we go. First practical exercise of the night. I want you to think of somebody that you would like to improve the relationship with. That's the first thing. Did you think about that person? Okay. What I want you to do is find one thing to like about the person. One thing to like. Okay? I'm doing this a bit in reverse, but okay. We'll do it. We'll show you now. So I want you to do that. I want you to find one thing to like about that person. And when you've done so, pop it into the chat. Okay? So somebody that you want to improve a relationship with, find one thing that you could like about that person. Okay? Paula is kind and funny. Lovely. Nice. Excellent. Anybody else? One person that you want to improve the relationship, find one thing to like about that person. Anybody? Okay, great. Just joined. Yeah. The first exercise is, we have this A or C triangle. This is affinity. Find one thing to like about that person. So anybody that you want to improve a relationship with, find one thing to like about it and just pop it into the chat. Okay, anybody else? Any takers? Amira, the person is thoughtful. Fantastic. Look, you might hate everything about the person, apart from that one thing. So just find that one thing that you like. Okay, who else? Anybody else there? Come on. Give us an old... let's see. Gift. Sure, the person is caring. Beautiful. Beautiful. Like, for example, there's actually things that you can like about practically everybody. But it's to look for that thing, to like about them, is the trick. Okay? Sorna, empathetic, forgiving, generous, attention giver, thoughtful. We could keep going on with that. Obviously, you like that person. You definitely find some things to like. So the very first thing is find something to like. Okay? And again, this is the affinity level. It's an entry road into the relationship. That is the base. Okay? And obviously, you have to consider where that person is. And if you're not interested, if you're down here all the time, you're not going to find things to like about a person. You just won't care. I just don't want to talk to that person. I don't want to talk to anybody. In fact, when you start going down here, you tend to drive people away and pull them in. Okay, that's affinity. Now let's go on to the next bit. And I'm going to touch on this one. This isn't going to take too long. This is reality. Okay? This is the next corner, and the next corner is reality. Okay? Equals degree of agreement. Okay? Okay, so for example, so reality is things in the physical world. Like this board here is reality. That's real. Okay, we all agree it's real. You all see a pen in my hand. You see Vincent on the screen here waving his pen. That's reality. I agree that that's going on. So do you agree? So fundamentally, reality is agreement. Okay. So now, if you have two people, okay, and there's absolutely nothing that you agree with, and there's nothing that you can find to agree with that person, there is going to be no relationship. And as you build up that agreement, build it up, you're going to find a much stronger relationship. So I'm going to read out this line to you from the book. All right. Now. Okay. I'm going to come back to this in a minute, right? So reality is agreement, and C, anybody want to guess what C is? Anybody want to guess what C is? It's basically, anybody going once? It's communication. Okay. Now, once you have those two, thank you, Paula. Once you have those two basics in place, affinity, in other words, you found something to like about the person, and agreement, you find something to agree with about the person, there is your base. Then you can start with your communication. That will get your communication going. So let me explain to you how you use this triangle in real life. If you would continue a strong and able communication with someone, there must be some basis for agreement. You have to find something that you and the other person agree with. So I'm going to go back to the example of myself and my wife. We had a disagreement about something the other night. What was it? Oh yeah, I didn't do something that she thought I should have done. Oh yeah, it was about feeding the cat. It's all about cats these days. Damn it. Why has my life become just about cats? Okay, it was about a cat. Okay, a silly argument. She thought I should have done this. I said, well, no, I shouldn't have done that. Okay? And then there was this silence, and she was like, and I knew there was an upset. So am I going to keep plowing in about telling her how right I am? I'm going to explain to you now how right I am about my decision about the cat. No, I did not. No, I did not. Now, I can't actually remember exactly what I said, but I just went, let me just think. It was the ultimate repair, which is just find something else that you agree with. Like we were both working during the day, so I think it could have been about work, or even the weather. I think I might have said, oh no, it was traffic. I think it was traffic. So I might have said, how was traffic on the way to work today? Complete change of subject, because I'm affected by traffic, she's affected by traffic, and we hold that in common. We have opinions about traffic. We hate traffic. Okay? So I went in and went, how's traffic today? Communication started up again. It was like we never had an argument. So when you have an upset with somebody on a certain thing, there's a break in this relationship. You have to find some point of agreement. Maybe that's just buying the person a cup of coffee because you know they like coffee, or going down and making a cup of tea, or I don't know, putting on a movie that you both like, or do you want to watch some television? You know, something that you both have in common. Another thing, for example, there was one night I went home to my wife and I was like, I was just in the mood for watching a movie. But I knew she had some accounting stuff that she wanted to get done that she needed help on. So I thought to myself, okay, Vinny, she wants to do the accounting, you want to watch a movie. Now, you can go watch the movie, but she's going to be down doing the accounting on her own. And then I kind of have to sell myself on, okay, look, do you know what? We're going to do the accounting until a certain time, and then I'm going to watch a movie. So what I did was, rather than have her go off and do her thing and I do mine, I just went, okay, you know what? If I tell her right now we need to go and sit down and watch a movie, it would have been an upset. So you just find a point of agreement and just consider that and observe. You need to observe, you know? Okay. So now, here's the next exercise I have for you. I want you to pick somebody in your life that you would like to improve the relationship with. And I want you to type into the chat something that you both agree with. Okay? Now pick somebody that you don't have a great relationship with at the moment. Or it's not like a close friend. Pick somebody that you want perhaps to develop a relationship with and find out what is the point of agreement. What do you both agree with? What do you have in common? So that's the next exercise. Think about the person that you'd like to improve the relationship with and write down what do you have in common. Are you doing that? I don't know if you are or not. So just pick that person that you'd like to improve the relationship with and find one thing that you both agree with. One thing. Is it coffee? Is it the weather? Is it a certain type of movie? Is it the kids? Is it the cleaning of the house? Is it fast cars? What is it that you both have in common? What do you both agree with? Thank you, Sorna. Having the same interest. Good. So you might be interested in, I don't know, walking in the park, and they might be interested in it too. Great. That's a point of agreement. Very good example. Okay. Gift. Boyfriend, we both like to travel. Perfect. So there's a point of agreement. You both like to travel. Excellent example. Thank you, Gift. Amira, we both like watching B movies. Movies go bad. Movies go bad. They are good. Movies go bad, they are good. Yeah, good. Okay, so you both like watching B-rated movies, so not the blockbuster movies that you see, hitting the big screen, the B-rated ones. Okay, Mira, no problem. Excellent. So you both like those. Fantastic. Great. Paula, love your kids. This is a really important one, right? I find that no matter how a relationship is going, like a marriage, whatever, the kids is actually the one thing that can keep the thing together. Now, people say, well, it shouldn't be the kids holding the relationship together, but it is a very strong point of agreement between a partner and the other partner, whether they're together or not. And it is the place, and it can be the place, to start building the relationship back up again. It's a very good point, Paula. Okay, so I see. Movies so bad, they are good. Now I get it, Amira. Movies so bad, they are good. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I've watched a few of those. Some of them I haven't been able to tolerate, but others I have. Okay, so now, let's go over this then. I want to make sure, I'm going to read all your notes. Can't maintain upsets, so they leave. I'm going to bring up all your points that you brought up in a few minutes, right? Okay. So if you would continue a strong and able communication with somebody, there must be some basis for agreement. You have to find something that you both agree with. So if you're upset with somebody, find that point of agreement. Don't go harping in on the things that you don't agree with. Okay? There must be some liking for the person. You have to find something to like about the person. They're the two basics of this ARC triangle. Once you have those two, then communication can exist. If you don't have affinity, if you don't have a liking of something about the person, if there's nothing that you can find in common, there's going to be no communication. We can see then that simple talking and writing randomly without knowledge of this would not necessarily be communication. So just because you send an email going blah, 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 doesn't mean that is communication. So when you are communicating with somebody, you have to consider how much, something to like about the person, and you have to keep it real. There has to be a point of reality. Okay, there was an example of this. Somebody, I was working the other day, I think I was trying to get somewhere, and it was like 3:45, and somebody said, this needs to be handled urgently today. I'm like, well, hang on a second. How am I going to get that done if I'm leaving in 15 minutes? This is like 2 hours worth of work. So it was a point of disagreement, and it was like I kind of, whatever. But anyway, I communicated with the person, we worked it out that it could get done, and it got done extremely fast. Okay. Now, final thing I want to go over with you. A communication to be received must approximate the affinity level of the person to which it is directed. So, if you are talking to somebody, you must consider that chart that I went over with you from enthusiasm down to apathy. Okay? Don't go in too high, don't go in too low. Right? You have to be able to judge it where the person is on their affinity level. Are they enthusiastic right now? Are they bored? Are they angry? Are they, being fearful? Are they anxious? Are they depressed? What is the line? And then your communication should go in at that emotional level, not too enthusiastic. So, for example, if somebody is in grief, you would go in a very sympathetic tone of voice, and not false. I'm not trying to say be false, but just that is the tone that you adopt, because that's the situation. That's the exact affinity level. There's no point in going in totally enthusiastic if a person has their cat just died, So you have to be able to judge the affinity level of the person. Okay. So now, I'm going to go over one last thing with you. So this is the key thing. Let me reiterate. If you want to improve a relationship with somebody, you have to find something to like about the person. You have to find something that you find in common. Then communication can then take place. And the communication has to take into consideration the reality. Don't go too far above the reality. For example, if you're meeting somebody in, on a social event for a cup of coffee, okay? And you're also involved in network marketing. And the person is there to meet you for a social cup of coffee. Okay, so your agreement is a chat about coffee. Perfect. And then the person comes in and starts saying, okay, I'd like to interest you in buying a timeshare in Spain. It's only going to cost you 50,000. So what do you think of that? It's unreal. It's beyond the person's reality. Now, maybe you can build a person up to it, but at that moment, it's too far above the person's reality, and they're going to push you away. That affinity is going to go lower, even if they pretend it's been a very nice conversation, but very soon afterwards, they're not going to return your calls. Okay. If angry, what level can you go in? Gentle. Okay, Paula, good question. So anger is here. We can put that in the middle. Right? So let's say, okay, we'll take my wife as well. God, I shouldn't really be giving examples. She'll kill me. Okay, but anyway, I've walked down that road, so I'm going to have to continue. So let's say my wife is angry. She's like, I'm not fantastic at cooking, all right? I don't have a great affinity for cooking. So I might burn something, okay? She might say, are you cooking tonight, Vincent? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to cook tonight. Definitely. And I burn it. And she's like, that was the last piece of food that we have in the house. And let's say she gets angry. Honestly, she doesn't get angry very often, really, but let's say she does, okay? So my level with that would be to go, damn it, I should have got bloody trained in school. I wish I'd gone to cooking class or something like that. Damn it. Okay? I'm not going to attack her, but I'm just going to be up around that level. So between anger and boredom. Okay? I might just say, oh, damn, all right, yeah, sorry about that. Damn it. I guess I'm going to have to go out to the shop and get something, something different, Don't go in on the attack. Just go in on that level between anger and boredom yourself, but don't make the person the target. That's important. Okay, now, so this is a very key tool that you need. The basics on how you do this are explained in this book, and how you judge where the person is at on the emotional level is explained in this book. There's one other thing I want to address on somebody. I'm just going to go over the points. Can't maintain the relationship. Okay, so on the can't maintain the relationship, the thing that's going to help you to maintain a relationship is to keep the communication going. But your communication needs to have love as part of it, or liking at least, and it has to have some degree of reality. Don't go in too far above their reality. Just hit them on the low, and you can build it up. You can build it up. It's not to say that you shouldn't be saying what you want to say, but you can build it up, okay? That was for Mira. Megan, handle disagreements, okay? So you handle disagreements, there's a big explosion. The thing that handles disagreements is communication, okay? But to start repairing that disagreement, you're going to have to find out some point of reality, some point of agreement, find something to like about them, and then change the subject, and then you can get back into it once that affinity starts developing again. All right? Sorna, not the active listener. Again, that comes down to communication skill. There are communication exercises that you can do. Sylvia is our host on the webinar tonight. Reach out to her. There's a communication course that we do. It's fantastic. It's one of the first courses I've ever done here, and it really, really helps with the listening. In fact, we train up counselors here to help people with past stuff. That's another webinar. And one of the very, very first things that we do is get them the basics on listening skills and communication skills. It's absolutely vital. If you don't have basic communication skills, and listening is a fundamental, it ruins relationships. I've seen it happening with other people. The partner doesn't listen, or doesn't acknowledge, or doesn't say anything, and it's an explosion. Okay, Samantha, manage conflict. Now, I want to tell you, there's a chapter in this book, Samantha. I don't have time to go into it right now, but it's called the third party law. If you are trying to improve a relationship, and you've tried all this and you're working, and no matter what you do, it's not handling the situation. There's a third party involved. How that works and how that affects the relationship between you two is explained in a chapter in the book called The Third Party Law, which you need to read because it helps you to be able to detect if there is a third party situation. In other words, you and Joe are having arguments all the time, and you've tried this and it still explodes. It's going on for months. This works every single time. If it's not working, it means there's this third party situation going on, and there's a chapter in the book that shows you exactly how to weed that out, okay? Unfortunately, I don't have time to go into it right now because it's a whole webinar in itself, but it's there for you, okay? And then finally, somebody talked about disagreements, but I think we handled that. Okay. Now, what I want to do right now is I've covered a very basic thing. I haven't given you techniques. I haven't given you tips and, if this person's bad, then you should be quiet or whatever. I've just gone over the bedrock. The bedrock is the ARC triangle: communication, affinity, and reality. That is what you need to maintain. And if you just work on that, and in this book explains to you how to use this in more detail, if you just work on that, you're going to build it and build the relationship with your kids, your friends, your family, the boyfriend, the boss at work. You can build relationships all over the place. And it can be honest. Like, I don't like, if I'm not interested in talking to somebody, right, I'm just not interested in talking to the person. I'm trying, I don't want to talk to somebody if I'm not interested. If I want to learn about somebody and get the relationship going, I will. I will always be polite to people. I'll always be friendly. But if I want to improve the relationship, I will be genuine. And I'll be honest. Try not to fake it, because people pick up on those things, If you're being fake and you're just trying to pretend to be nice, people will sense it. And they go, look, it's just PR. It's not really genuine love and liking. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I want to just show you the books, and then I'm going to open up the floor for any questions that you have. Maybe I didn't answer your particular question, and I will attempt to give you whatever I have after this. So I'm going to show you the books that I have, I'd like to promote to you. Then I'm going to leave the floor open for any questions that you may have. So I'm going to share the first screen here, and this is the book here. It's called A New Stamp on Life, and I go over a couple of the basics. The book reveals the 12 personality traits that make someone your friend or enemy. Very, very important. There's actually a chapter in this book called the antisocial personality. It's a type of person who will try to drag you down, and it's really important to be able to identify that person. Number 2, the real cause of conflicts. That chapter I referred to, called the third party law, explains that in more detail. 2 rules for happy living, how to improve relationships, marriage, children, loads of stuff, how to handle work. There's loads of information in the book about how to improve relationships with everybody in your life so you can have good, stable, reliable friends, translated into 17 languages. Okay, if you get this book tonight before 9:30 p.m., this will be included, and it's called the Emotional Tone Scale. It's a little booklet. There's a free online course that goes with it to help you get through it. Very, very easy to read, loads of practical exercises, and it basically helps you to be able to determine where somebody is on this tone scale, where you can establish, where do you need to go in. So those are the 2 books I would recommend. Normally, these are 20 and 5. If you get them tonight, you get the 2 of them for €20, as opposed to €25, and it's been sent out with free shipping. So these are the recommendations. That book is going to give you more information so that you can find out for yourself what this whole thing is about. And then that book is absolutely key, so you can actually establish where somebody is emotionally. Okay? So those are the 2 books I'd recommend. Now, I want to just take the next few minutes, and Sylvia's just put up the link there. So for anybody who wants to get the books tonight, click the link, and you can buy them. And as I said, if it's before 9:30 p.m., you get the Emotional Tone Scale booklet for free. Okay? Okay, so I want to just leave the floor open now for a minute or 2 before we wrap up. If anybody has any questions, and I've tried to answer the questions or the points that you brought up earlier. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. So please take a moment, because I tend to get so interested in giving you information. It's one of my fallbacks or downfalls is that I get so enthusiastic. I'm like, oh, I want to give you information, and then I don't let you talk. So I put this in so that you can voice what your problem is, and I will tell you what I think. I will tell you what my opinion is and what I would suggest. So take a moment to just pop your question into the chat. I don't care what it is. Just don't ask me what the meaning of life is. That might be a tricky one to answer, but any other question than that. This is water with electrolytes, not whiskey, for anybody who wants to know. Okay. I'm taking courses in sense of humor at the moment, so if you don't bear with me, I can do that maybe in the future at some point. Okay, I don't see any questions coming in there, so I don't know. Either A, you all got the information and it's all been fantastic and you've learned a lot, or B, you're like, no idea what he just said. No absolute clue. In any event, folks, if you do have any questions, please feel free. Send us an email, or you can follow it up. If you want to organize an appointment with Sylvia, she can actually just send her a message there on the Zoom, and she'll be able to organize the appointment for you if you want to have a chat about it, something like that. Any comments? Paula, thanks for the great. I'm delighted, Paula. You liked it. Thank you for being here. You heard what I said. Thank you, Gift. Very nice of you to be here as well. Okay, folks, so I'll finish with one last little bit of encouragement to you. And here are my final words for the night. Okay, you're welcome, Sorna. You decide who you want to build a relationship with or not. You have the right to decide who you want to communicate with and who you don't want to communicate with. You definitely have that right. You don't have to communicate with everybody, right? Just because people expect you to be very social in society doesn't mean that you have to go out and grovel to everybody and try to be their friend. But what you will find is that if you apply this with everybody that you run into, the relationship naturally improves with hardly any effort. So even if it's a case where you didn't necessarily even intend to build a relationship or get to know somebody, even by just being in a conversation, if you apply these basic principles, you are going to find that naturally the relationship improves. And you're going to find a lot more to like about people, and you're going to find a lot more people to like. So practice those things. Practice finding something to like about a person. Practice finding something that you both agree with. Communicate at those levels with the person. And you will find that you're going to make strong relationships with people. It doesn't matter if you disagree on all sorts of different things. We all have disagreements on different things, we're all different opinions and so forth. But you'll find things that you have in common, and that will keep that relationship solid. Okay. So we'll wrap up. Again, I'd recommend you get the books. It's education for yourself. It's more information. And if you have any questions, you can always follow up. Thank you so much for your time tonight. The chat is going to stay open for a couple of minutes. So if you have the link, you'll be able to actually check it out. Thank you to everybody who's joined us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And for everybody on Zoom, thank you very much, Mick, for being here again and having your camera on. Much appreciated, Mick, as always. Thank you. Okay. And Amira, thank you very much for your examples. Paula, Samantha, Sorna, Gift, Megan, Alexandra, Ali, I never even said hello to you, Ali. Hello, goodbye. And then phone number ending in 4640. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, folks, so have a beautiful evening. Thank you for giving me your time tonight. I hope I helped you out, and I hope to see you in the future at another webinar. Have a lovely evening.